Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net. Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
Hey hooligans, this is Michael.
This is Michelle.
This is Jeremy.
From Who the What Now?
The show about
Strange stories from the internet.
And Bigfoot came over and beat his ass. He knocked him around a little bit, and he just kind of went limp, and Bigfoot left.
pop culture.
Jean-Claude Van Clam.
I thought
Jean-Claude Van
you were
Clam was supposed to be the alien in Predator. Mm-hmm. And did a jump splits and ended up with his batch right in the dude's face.
That's his
do I get the part?
In our crazy lives.
I'm like, oh, there's a cat on my back. And then all of a sudden I feel something. I feel a furry paw go down my ass crack. Just slide right down my ass crack. I was like, what are you doing?
You can catch us on all your favorite podcast applications.
Spotify,
iTunes,
Libsyn,
iHeartRadio,
Stitcher,
your mamas. And wherever else they have quality podcasts.
So don't miss out on the next
Who the What Now?
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everybody. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, we have Henno and Brian. Hey, guys.
Yo. Hey. Hey.
Hey.
You're like, ha.
Yeah.
so full energy this morning.
Yes,
this evening,
always.
as usual,
Rimming.
brimming with excitement.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sorry, folks, that I wasn't on last week.
Oh, that's right.
I'm still adjusting to my sleep schedule, and if it gets a little too late for me, Princess has to be in bed. You see.
Yeah, and we acknowledged that it wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I took
I
the
did-
bullet last week.
Yep.
Did
Full
you-
responsibility.
Yeah, I did
All right.
because it was my fault because I forgot and was not home. So
And I do need, I get up around 6 in the morning, so I kind of need to be in bed by like around 10, 11 o'clock.
Mhm.
So, but, but regardless, I will still go first because I wasn't on the show last week.
Mhm.
Kind of a mixed bag couple weeks. Some good stuff. Work's going really well. I'm actually having lunch with the ladies about 3 or 4 times a week, which is kind of an unusual thing for me because me and the ladies in general aren't always getting along. So these ladies in particular seem to be gelling with me really well. So, which
Good.
I'm very excited about. So
Fun.
yes, which is good. And I'm learning a lot, which is also good. Kind of at that learning curve though, that I've learned all the easy stuff and the rest of the stuff kind of has to come with time. So just a little bit in the awkward middle section right there. So that makes it a little bit tough on anxiety, because you start making a couple little mistakes that you don't mean to make, but kind of happen when you're learning.
Yeah.
So you end up having, the anxieties and stuff that go along with it. So things are going good there. I had a family birthday party that I attended with the in-laws at the in-laws' houses and stuff. It's always interesting because when I deal with my in-laws, I love them because they are my family and they are wonderful people, but they only know me a certain way, and I kind of get pigeonholed as being a certain way, and it gets exhausting trying to keep up appearances, I guess, because they want and expect me to act a certain way, so I need to act a certain way to fit into their box. And when I don't, it just causes chaos. So I must be in the box. So that's always...
Now, let me ask the difficult question here, which is,
yes.
Are you 100% sure that that's the case, that you're not projecting?
Yes, because of every time I kind of step outside the box, it never goes well.
Okay.
So,
that's fair. I'm just asking the question.
Yep. It just doesn't go well. We have a lot of strong personalities, and it's best if I'm not one of them.
Can I ask a completely loaded question?
Yes.
Please.
Can anybody really put Jenny in the box?
Yeah, pretty much I'm the only one that can put me in the box, be honest.
Yep.
If I'm truly being honest, that I technically could be whoever I want to be, whenever I want to be, and consequence be damned, because I can do whatever the heck I want, because I am an individual.
Right.
But the reality of the fact who I am and the peacekeeper that I am, I realize that I have to operate within my rules. So stay in my lane, shall we say.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you can't really say much about it, as long as you are the one making that decision.
Yes, there's that.
Because you still need to be you in the thing. If they don't like who you really are, then I mean, I want to say that's a them problem, but I understand how all this works. It becomes a you problem. So, yeah. But yeah.
There's layers to it. Whenever you're dealing with family, there's always layers and upon layers of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're dealing with a family that is not yours by blood, it's can be even more layers involved.
Yeah.
So it gets complicated quickly. So, but ultimately, in the end, I enjoyed the kids, and I enjoyed, seeing some people that I don't get a chance to see very often. So, all in all, a good time. But yeah, again, it was kind of like those 2 weeks, like mixed bag, like ups and downs, lots of ups and downs and stuff. But I weathered them pretty well. Nothing too crazy one way or another, which is always a good thing for me.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to say that, unfortunately, kind of something pretty tragic ended up happening to one of the women I work with. Her great niece, 16 years old, had her driver's license for 3 weeks and goes in a car accident and unfortunately didn't make it.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
that's horrible.
So, yeah. So, I kind of wanted to not bring it up to bring everybody down because
that's my job.
That's not
right.
what I wanted.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
More Brian.
Right.
But what I did want to bring it up because something that she did when she got her driver's license is she became an organ donor, and because of her donation, there were, I think, 9 people or something were affected positively because she'd made that decision. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there that the family is going through a bunch of whys, as everyone can imagine, how horrific and stunning, shocking and everything this has been for the family.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing they can kind of hold on to is the fact that that her life wasn't, it wasn't for nothing.
Yeah.
That she ended up saving 9 people because of it. So just putting it out there, folks, in case you're considering it, you're on the fence, or you haven't up to this point, be an organ donor if you can. It's just an important decision, and it's really made a difference to their family.
Right.
So,
and you'll be dead anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
like
you can't take it with you, folks.
Yeah.
So,
you watch. I will. I'm taking it all. No, they're not going to want anything I have anyway. So, as I've detailed, through various things on the other podcast,
Something that did kind of strike me through the whole thing, she's been keeping us abreast of all the situation. When they're taking the young lady down to the surgery room, they have, I can't remember the exact term for it, but basically they have this walk, they call it, where the family members line the hallway and they walk with her.
I've heard about this.
Really?
And
I have not.
There's a whole it's kind of I can't remember the exact details, but it's kind of a national deal where that this has been done. And I watched some program on TV about it, and I got to see, I saw it happening on TV, and it's unbelievably moving. It was just like bawling instantly with all these family members.
Yeah, I would think.
Right there. And it's like, whoa. And I guess it's a thing that they've really just show how big of a gift this is.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting.
And that's what struck me about the whole thing is how, I don't know if I could do it. Like, as a family member, I don't know if I could emotionally stand there and be there. I mean, you never know until you're in that situation and you have to make that determination. But I mean, kudos to them for doing it. Now, a local news station asked if they could videotape it and document it.
Cool.
Yeah. Family ended up going the other way, and they said they declined it.
I could totally see, picking either way, because I could see where a family would be like, "This is so personal," you know. Because I mean, you know, I am not like. Whenever I see people that take pictures at like funerals and stuff, I'm like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" You know, like so. Like if it's the people directly affected, that's one thing, but I don't know. It's just such a weird thing to me. But like this, I honestly think I might be the same way, where I'm like, no, that's for us, you know.
I appreciate that they wanted to cover it because they wanted her story to be out there.
Sure, yeah.
You know, I completely get that, and I think that's admirable. But yeah, I'm with you. It's like I don't know if I could open myself up that much.
Yeah, that's really an intimate setting. Yeah. But like I said, I no judgment on anyone who chooses either way. I would.
Oh, absolutely.
I totally can understand saying yes or no to that, you know, because I could see where they might want to use it like, hey, we're going to celebrate her life and this gift her death is giving all these other people, you know, so I could totally understand where you might do that as well, you know, so, yeah.
And something that the hospital did was they did, Build-A-Bear offers a recorder now in their bears so that you can record your voice or record, you know, any sounds that you wish. So they recorded her heartbeat.
Oh,
and they put it there.
Wow, that's wow.
Yeah, and they gave that to her dad. So.
Oh, geez, wow. I bet he was a mess when they handed that to him. I bet. I mean, good Lord. But that's a really cool thing, you know.
That's this program I watched. They really went into details about how this has become a national movement, you know, and that anytime that they have an organ donation or something like that, there's just this whole, you know, they're trying to create a ritual out of it in a way that really, you know, so that families don't feel like it was a waste.
Yeah.
And where the people who get the organs, those families can express their appreciation because many times people don't even know who it is.
Yeah, true.
And that's what the family's kind of hopeful for the father, because the mother really wasn't part of the picture. They're hoping that the father can get some letters or some communication with maybe some of the recipients to help heal him.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm sure it would do his heart good to see other people flourishing after, you know, like if someone gets a kidney or a liver or whatever, you know, like to where their life turns around because of it. I think that, you know, I could see where that could, you know, do him some good as well. Yeah, it is too bad.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, by all means, I just know this woman through work. You know, I've only known her a couple of weeks, so, you know, even though I'm not, you know, connected to her at a super high level, it still kind of hits home whenever you see this type of a situation.
Yeah.
And what happened was it was a very simple, basically misreading a situation where she was going straight at a four-way stop. She was going straight. The person to her right was turning, and it was 2 lanes, or it was like a blinking red or something like that. But there was 2 lanes. She saw the person that was turning, so she knew that they were turning, so she could go straight. She didn't see the person next to the turning car.
Oh, okay.
And the person next to the turning car hit her right in the side. So T-boned her.
Right.
I mean, the person hit her. I mean, thankfully he's okay. He broke his finger, but that's about it. I mean, he walked away, thankfully. But yeah, it just hit her car in such a way that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to piggyback on what you're saying a little bit for other reasons too, is not just being an organ donor, but to also potentially sign up for like a bone marrow donor also, because there's tons of people out there that need that kind of help. And like I've got an online friend that she's going through kidney failure and needs a kidney, so there's Tony's dad got a bunch of extra years because of someone that donated their liver, so it's it touches and touched us in different ways. So, and I bet a lot of people know somebody who's benefited from something like that or whatever. So it's, just, keep it in mind. The organ donation one on your driver's license ID that's the easiest one, because all you have to do is say yes.
That's it.
That is it.
Box.
Yeah. The other ones require a little extra, like the bone marrow one. I think you have to, I don't remember what they do. I can't remember how they test for it. Is it a cheek swab or is it a needle? I can't remember. Anyway. But, look into it if you can. There's other stuff out there, but just, just little stuff like that you can give and, drastically help out someone's life.
Mm-hmm. Or be like Brian and donate blood.
Yeah, that too.
He donated testosterone. There might have been some blood in it. Rumor has it.
It's true. My levels are pretty high right now. Yeah. Actually, you mentioned that. I got a letter or an email the other day from the Red Cross that there's a local, there was like a local girl or something like that who really needed, donations of, what was it? I think it's platelets. And I'm sitting there going, man, I would totally go give, but I can't yet. So I can't until the end of the month. So. Yeah. I may contact them and see if they're still I know they'll take them no matter what, basically, but it's, but when I saw that, I was like, oh man, I'd love to help out, but I can't, they won't take them from you.
Well, that, and also that you wouldn't want her to grow that beard.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Listen, I use that Snapchat filter that, made me like a woman. I was a pretty good-looking bearded woman.
I'll tell you what,
right?
I wasn't I could not believe how pretty I was.
Yeah. Yep.
Like a mutant Brenda.
Nice.
Yeah.
It was weird. I said it to her.
Yeah,
it's like, look, we're sisters.
Mine was weird because it didn't take my beard off. Like most people I saw that have,
that's weird.
Most of the people I saw that have a beard, it removed their beard, and mine did not do that.
It scrubbed my goatee.
Yeah, it did not with mine. I still had, it got rid of the mustache, but I still had the beard part. So I said I was a fabulous looking bearded woman. So
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to play around with that, and I need to.
I think I don't know if it's still there. They may have gotten rid of it because you know how it is. Some of the filters, like the dog ears one, that they won't ever get rid of for some reason, and but the one after that was people were doing one where it makes your face look like a baby, basically. And
that one was a little weird.
I didn't do that one.
I did that one once, and that was enough.
I honestly haven't really played around with Snapchat. I haven't done any of the filters really, so I need to take a little time and play around and see what I come up with.
You really don't. That's like, sorry.
I do have an app that puts makeup on me, which is really fun.
Yeah, well, there's some of the filters that'll do that too, but yeah.
So, good times, good times.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's been my up and down kind of crazy week or weeks. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I had my mother come visit me, and it was an awesome time. It was kind of funny because the day that I was going to go pick her up, our bookkeeper was in the office. She comes, infrequently, and she asked if I was, like stressed out or anything like that. And I'm just like, no, not at all. It's not at all. She's like, really? She's like, my mother's coming in a couple of weeks and I'm already drinking.
Wow.
And I was like, no, my mom's got a hotel room. I'm like, I'm going to go pick her up. We're going to go have lunch. I'm going to drop her off in the hotel room on Wednesday. And then I'm not going to see her until Friday morning. And Kathy was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, she's coming here to get away from my dad, have some alone time, have some me time.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want, she wants us to do our thing. And that's why she's staying at a hotel and not in our house with us, which is stressful. And this way she can come and go as she pleases. And we went down to Twin Falls on Friday, and my mom basically wanted to take us shopping.
Yeah.
She took us to Costco and said, grab whatever you want. And I was like, okay, I will. And even it's something that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
I want to protest it, but I have learned that my mom wants to be a mom. And she has the full support of my dad in doing so. Like at the end, I even got a bunch of furniture for the house, nothing major, like some little end tables and this and that. She's like, oh, grab another one or whatever it is. I'm like, okay. And it's like when we got home, she called my dad, and my dad was like, great, that's awesome. And because he completely supports it too. And, so
Nice.
it's one of those things that's like, we were talking earlier about, taking compliments. It's like, I'm also letting the people around me be who they want to be.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether I want them to or not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a great time. And the best part was I had a gig on Saturday night. So my mom I hadn't realized this, but my mom hadn't seen me play she's been here when I've done like the acoustic gigs, but she's never seen me play in full electric band, the whole deal.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
And I never realized that. It was because when we got done, I was sitting down with some people that were sitting with her. And it's true. Like she wouldn't have come to see me play when I was 19 or 20 playing metal. She would never have done that. And
because
like
you guys
said,
didn't play heavy enough stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We were just a bunch of pansy lightweights.
Yeah.
That's why exactly.
Your mom's into black metal.
Yeah, and now that her taste is mellow, she's actually willing to come and actually see me play. Yeah. And not be too judgy.
Right.
But she had a great time. She stayed through the whole time. Sharon left early. She hadn't been feeling well, and my mom's like, I'm staying. Even helped me like load the car up, and we got back kind of late, and she grabbed a taxi on Sunday and got herself to the airport, and
oh wow,
and everything. So like I didn't, because Sharon was working on Sunday, and so was I. She's like, don't worry about it. I'll get a cab. She arranged it for herself and everything, and. Yeah, it was really cool. We had a great time. I'd go pick her up at the hotel when I went to go take the dogs for a walk, and she'd come with me. And I get my talkative side from my mother, and that's we communicate. We'll talk about stuff. We'll. I mean, it's honestly, we'll shoot the beep. That's literally what we're doing.
Yeah.
We'll talk about anything, and and what's going on with people around us, and just I got that from my mother. So I know that she likes it too, because she gets to it was funny. I was even telling her about I was going to go see John Wick 3, and she started asking me what the story was about. And I said, well, it's, kind of you've got your underworld kind of, assassins and that kind of stuff. But, it's there's like intrigue in there, but mostly it's just a lot of violence and, fancy choreography with violence. But she's like, well, what's the story about? And it was funny because I literally gave her the synopsis of the first two John Wick movies.
You totally
and my mom loved it because she loves murder mysteries and things like that. Like, it's interesting to her. And it was just really funny that I'm having this conversation with an 83-year-old woman about John Wick.
That is funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Would have been funny
And
is
then-
if
and
she's
I-
like, "What's the movie about?" And you're like, "Blah blah 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 blah." Be like, "Yeah, his dog," and she's like, "Wait, there's a dog in it? Let's go."
Yeah, no, that was the part. I'm like, well, you know, it all happens because of a dog, and
Yeah.
you know, it was really funny. But and then I have an update from last week. I shared that I had this moment at work where I felt really good because I've been beating myself up a little bit, and I needed a little bit of a win, and so I shared this being able to help somebody at work at the last minute and how good it felt. Well, today was the day I got to go back in there and fix it for real. And boy, I sucked out loud. Everything worked out great, but it was just funny. If there was something that I could do to make my life worse, I did it.
Nice.
But I just kept going on. It just made me laugh. I was like, here I was in this exact same space last week, feeling really good, and here I am right now going, "You're a dummy."
Oh,
It was great, but
Yeah.
I love that I got to laugh at it, and I don't feel any I'm not getting no one's breathing down my neck.
Yeah.
That you have to get this done. But, oh, it was pretty funny. Yeah, that's about my time in a nutshell.
Nice.
how about you, Brian? How are you doing?
Yeah, whatever. No. Well, I finally. All right. So last week, I believe, I say that I was like, yeah, I've really done nothing recently. Like, I need to get going again. Was that last week or the week?
Mhm.
Okay, I thought so. So I don't remember what
Couple
day.
weeks later,
Yeah, I don't remember what day it was, but I finally got the chair out of this room that I'm in into the other
Hey.
room. I don't know if you guys can see, I don't know if you can see how much
Yeah,
further
usually-
behind me you can see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I finally got a bunch of boxes behind this divider thing I have here, stacked up and kind of away. And man, it's nice having this much room because I was starting to feel claustrophobic in here because the stuff I had just randomly stacked was moving closer and closer to my desk, and it was starting to really bother me. So yeah, it was. Yeah, so I got that all taken care of.
That's great.
Threw away a bunch of stuff. Went through boxes, as I was moving them and stuff, and was kind of pitching stuff that ended up coming with me when I moved because of the time frame. Because I was just like, I've only got a week to get all my stuff out of here, basically. So I need to basically just throw it in a box and get it out of here. And now I'm, as any time I'm moving stuff and there's boxes or whatever, I'm trying to rebox things or, get rid of things that are no longer necessary or whatever. So that was nice. That felt pretty good that I got all that done. I still got quite a bit that I, want to get done, but that was at least a good first step. I did that, that day, and that was about all I've done. So, after that, I was like, well, I got that at least.
But it's funny you say that because I've been doing that myself since I got back. I got some shelving things and some things my mom bought me at Lowe's, and I went and I took all the stuff off the shelves. All right, that's enough for that day. And then the next day I cleaned the shelves, pulled them down, stacked them in the corner somewhere, and everything's in a box. And then and I'm like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
And but there's something that feels okay about allowing that, not putting the pressure, you have to do it all now.
Yep.
Right.
No, I'll do as much as I feel like doing. I can get it's not like it's going anywhere.
Yeah, I actually started for a long time now. I've gone to where my to-do lists are 5, maybe up to 10 items at a time, and I opened up a Google document and I just put everything that I want to get done on it. And so what I've noticed is I've taken things off of it, but I haven't stressed about that, oh man, I still have 40 things or whatever the number is, like I still have all these things I want to do. Like you were just saying, is that I'm like, okay, I knocked 3 things off there today. Cool. Even if I added 3 new things, it's like, okay, well, at least I didn't go backwards, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
At least I'm making some progress. So that felt really good because I haven't been able to do that with a to-do list in a long time. Before it was pretty much, once I hit about 4 or 5 things, I'd start feeling stress from it. So I got to where I would keep things, like at one point I had 4 to-do lists sitting on my desk. I had 4 Post-it notes, and each Post-it note had about 5 things on it. And I did it on purpose because I didn't want to look at 20 things. I just wanted to look at 5, And the fact that even though I know there's 20 right there, I can't, when I look down, I only see 5. So I didn't have a constant reminder that there's 20. So that seemed to help. And then today, I actually goofed. I meant to go Friday to have blood drawn because, I have to go back to the doctor, plus my family doctor. It's time for me to have my numbers checked again because of the medicines I'm on. He likes to stay ahead of it to make sure, I'm not having any issues anymore with my kidneys or anything. So I go in today, and while I'm sitting in the waiting room, I told you guys this already, but while I'm sitting there, these 2 guys just start having a conversation about Avengers Endgame. And before they get too far into it, I'm like, hey, excuse me. And they were like, yeah. I'm like, I haven't seen that yet. Can you guys not have this conversation right now? Right? Yeah, they ignored me and just continued. And
Wow.
yeah, and the thing is, they were loud enough that I couldn't even move to the other part where there's like a little waiting area. So I'm sitting there going, okay, call me back. And so basically they completely told me the ending of the movie. And I honestly think after I asked them not to, I think they deliberately went to that part of the movie.
Probably.
So, yeah, that was, a jerk move, but
Wow,
well.
Throat punches were warranted
Yeah, right?
at that moment.
Right?
But there's nothing you can do, It's just funny how I've danced around the internet to not get these things, which is not an easy task, Especially for somebody like me. I'm on various social media through the day. It's been very difficult to not really have something spoiled, but whatever. I mean, nothing I can do about it. So, which, again, I wasn't mad at the time. I was just, I wasn't mad. I was disappointed, So I get back there, and the phlebotomist, actually, she had to leave right at that point. Like, right as I was getting there, she was like, I'm really sorry, I got an appointment I have to go to. And she's like, somebody will be with you soon. And I'm thinking, sitting there going, who? Because you're the blood draw person. So.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, one of the nurses from there come over. I'm like, okay, because obviously they have to go through the training and all that stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and the first one, she's, got the rubber band around my arm, and she's poking around trying to find the vein in my arm. And nothing. She can't find one. And I'm like, oh boy. Because this is either going to go one of 2 ways. Either you're going to have somebody who's a little tentative and not want to do it, or you're going to have somebody that's like, and stick you 25 times.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, well, let me try the other arm. And I'm like, cool. The only vein she found was kind of facing, like if you were looking at my arm, it would be basically facing out towards my elbow. And she goes, I really don't want to use that one. She's like, that's not in a great spot. And I'm like, okay, And she goes, have you drank much water today? And I was like, no. And she stops and looks at me, and she's like, why not? And I'm like, because I just got up. And she goes, okay, that's a good reason, but you still should drink water. For anyone who doesn't know, if you're going to have blood drawn, drink, you don't have to go stupid, but make sure when you get up, you have a good, few glasses of water or whatever, because it helps get the blood pumping and whatnot. It makes their job easier. Also, it allows the blood, when they do get the needle in you, it allows the blood to not be real thick, even though that's kind of my problem right now. So after a couple of times going back and forth, she's like, I really don't want to stick you because I don't really feel a vein I'm confident in. Like, okay. She's like, let me go get someone else. Okay, because I've had that in the past. There was one day I was in there, I got stuck 6 times by a phlebotomist. She went and got another one. The woman walked right up to me, was like, tap, tap, right here, boom, and had it.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
No.
So, whatever. I'm like, okay, hey, whatever. Go get all the help you need if it means I don't get stuck a ton of times. And I don't have any issues with needles as far as that goes. Like I have issues putting one into my own leg, but I don't have issues with but I also don't want to get stuck 6 times, So she gets this other woman, and she, on my right arm, she goes, okay, I think I got one here, right? Puts the thing in there, nothing. Gets 0 out of it. So she's like, okay. So she pulls that out, and it's weird because where it is, like in the pit of my arm here, there's like a circle. Like if I laid a quarter on top of it, it burned in that range. And I'm like, oh man. Yeah. So, and it still, honestly, it still kind of burns now. So then she moves to my left arm and she finds one and she's like, well, we're going to switch to what they call a butterfly needle, which is a really tiny one. And she's like, cause she's like, it doesn't feel like a real big vein, but she's like, I can, it's there, like, so like, okay. She's like, this one will hurt less than the other one. She put that in there. Holy, did it? It hurt like crazy. It hurt way worse. And I'm like, what the, and, nothing out of that side either. So she pulls that out and she goes, she's like, can you come back tomorrow? And she's like, first of all, the phlebotomist will be in tomorrow. And she's like, second of all, she's like, I don't want to keep sticking you when we cannot find veins. That's just pointless. So I'm like,
terrible.
So, and the other one's like, make sure you drink plenty of water.
Water.
Which I normally do. A long time ago, I had one of the phlebotomists tell me, or asked me if I had drank any water that day. And I said no, because when she started getting blood out, it was really thick. And she's like, you need to, she's like, make sure when you get up, which that's just good practice anyway, get up, knock back a good sized glass of water, start your day, whatever. So yeah, it was funny though, cause they were like, well, he also needs your doctor also wants a urine sample. And she's like, do you think you can do that? And I was like, you already tapped both my arms. Nothing came out. Like, what do you think? And we all had a laugh about it. Yeah. So,
what do you think you're getting down there?
Yeah, right. So the part that sucks, like, again, I don't have any issues with needles as far as these things go. Like, whatever, I'll go tomorrow, no big deal. But I have to fast again, And the problem is, like, most of the time, fasting isn't a massive deal for a lot of people. You get up and you're hungry, but your appointment's, like, right away in the morning a lot of times. But for me, as I've said before, the problem is that I'll eat at, like, midnight, and I'll be awake until 7. So the whole time you would normally probably be sleeping while fasting, I'm wide awake, and my stomach's going, feed me, Seymour, So, like, last night, I'm sitting there watching the WWE pay-per-view, and it's about 4 in the morning. My stomach is, like, I'm like, oh man, and so I finally, after that today, I was with my mom, and she's like, do you want to get something to eat? And I'm like, oh yeah, like,
yeah,
give me all the food. So yeah, I have to deal with that again for tomorrow, but whatever, it's just an annoyance, but whatever. So yeah, that's been my week as far as I can think of.
Nice. Well, today I have the article for us, is how recovering people pleasers can discover what they really want. So even though there's no people pleasers on this show, as we all know from various other episodes, yeah, I thought this was appropriate for us. So, The article starts with, when you say yes to others, make sure you're not saying no to yourself. People pleasers regularly subvert their own needs for those needs of others. We spend years of saying yes when we mean no, signing up for commitments we'd rather avoid, and occupying our minds with others' desires. When we finally clear out the clutter to put ourselves first, we look around at the empty space, bewildered with the endless question, what do we want? What does true happiness look like for us? What would life lived on our own terms be like? For me, these questions once provoked anxiety. I spent a lifetime catering to my parents, friends, colleagues, and lovers, anyone but myself. By asking what I really wanted, I was looking my fear straight in the eye. My fear of being responsible for my own happiness. My fear of not getting what I wish for. These fears are both potent and entirely surmountable. If we're brave enough to connect with our innermost desires. When we're strongly connected to our dreams and desires, we begin to set boundaries with other people so we can reach them. And we slowly start to find the confidence to speak our truth. Our dreams and desires remind us how communicating authentically will change our lives and the lives of loved ones for the better. For this reason, we recovering people pleasers need to reclaim our familiarity, I can say that word, with our inner voice and innermost needs. We cannot communicate authentically with others if we cannot communicate authentically with our inner selves. In my journey to overcome people-pleasing, I've learned a few helpful tricks to connect with my innermost self and uncover what I really want in all areas of my life. Perhaps one or more of these methods may help you to do the same. So before we get into this, something I wanted to point out. I don't know if anyone else gets this, but I don't have a lot of opinions that are like off the top of my head for easy stuff. Like, where do you want to go to dinner? What do you want to do tonight? What do you want to watch? Stuff like that. I even struggle with having my own desires. I'm like, whatever. Let's go with the flow. So I don't know how you guys feel, because I know you guys are a little bit more opinionated on things than I am.
I'm not most of the time with, like, you know, the food thing. I'm more of honestly, a lot of times I'm more of like, just pick where you want to go. I'll find something, because I tend to, you know, even now I still tend to eat fairly basic food most of the time. So, you know, usually I'll just give people the, like, as long as there's something, you know, I can figure out to eat, I'll be fine going kind of wherever people want to go. But I know a lot of people get annoyed by that, but it's like, most of the time, I really don't, like, I'm not generally like, oh man, we have to get this or this, you know, I'm just not that way. I never have been, you know, every once in a while I'll get that way where something sounds so good, but otherwise, most of the time I'm not, you know, like right now, honestly, I've been fiending for barbecue lately, so that's going to happen soon. But other than that, I haven't, you know,
right.
That's about how that works for me.
Yeah, I've changed a lot in that regard. That's, I mean, as a lot of it is just my how I do relationships has changed, and that was my main. That's where I really violated my own needs and desires for others.
Yeah,
was in relationships, and because the nature of my relationships have changed, that has also changed. And it was a learning experience that I'm glad I undertook it, to be more, in a lot of ways, to be more assertive and to make more decisions and to be more comfortable with them, and to use that as kind of a measure of the people I want to be around. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm very much like, this is what I think I want to do, and the person that I'm with says, hey, I'm kind of feeling like this, I'm instantly like, ooh, I want to be around you more, because you're someone that is willing to be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other hand, it could be someone that really likes it when somebody else is a good, makes decisions.
Yeah.
And in that case, you don't end up hearing about it later in some sort of passive aggressive way.
True.
Because they honestly like being there.
Right.
If later you start hearing about it in a passive aggressive way, that usually means that, at least for me, and this is like, okay, this is a person that I don't want to be around.
Right.
But so it's been a lot of work to do that. But all in all, it's a lot of it outside of relationship, things like that. I pretty much know what I want, and if I don't, I honestly don't care. It's not out of any sort of I want to make you happy. It's more like I really don't care.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah, I'm like when people, oh, what do you want to eat? And it's like I guess the better way to answer would be like, I generally have no opinion on this. If you have an opinion, we can do that. Like it's not me trying to people please. It's just like if I'm like I don't care what we eat and Heno's like, let's have Taco Bell. I'll be like, cool, and I'll figure something out. But because if you say something I don't want, I will say that, Or sometimes I've said that. Like I was with my brother the other day, and we were going to get something to eat, and he's like, where do you want to get food? And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, I know I don't want like fast food burgers. That's all I knew I didn't want. Otherwise I'm like, anything else is on the table.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I'm with you, Heno. It's like I've gotten to where it generally is really just me going, I really don't have a strong enough opinion here, not that I'm trying to people please. Because otherwise, if I was trying to people please, I'd probably say places that I know people like. Like my brother really likes going to Arby's. So if I would have been like Arby's, he probably would have immediately been like, yeah, let's go, So,
yeah. Well, let's see. So here's some methods and helpful tricks to help connect with the innermost self and uncover what you really want in all areas of your life. Label your feelings, number 1. As I mentioned in my post on setting boundaries, many of us have become so attuned to the feelings of others that our own feelings are elusive strangers, entirely unrecognizable to us. Our feelings are critical guideposts as we learn to prioritize our own needs. If we are able to identify and own them, we can rebuild our connection to our feelings by noticing their presence in our bodies, in our hearts. First, we must learn to give ourselves permission to be excited, inspired, and desirous. I often notice these feelings when they appear as fluttering in my chest or tingling down my spine. These feelings signal that I'm moving towards something that excites me. If, like me, you've spent a lifetime motivated by guilt and anxiety, your positive emotions can starkly illuminate the activities and relationships that bring you pure joy. We can also learn from feelings that are challenging or unpleasant once we're able to identify them. Instead of glossing over anxiety, overwhelm, and anger, we can notice these feelings as the pits in our stomachs, pressure in our chest, and tightness in our throats. These feelings may be signals that something isn't right for us or that we need to set boundaries with others. Yeah, valid point.
Mm-hmm.
I will say today I hit a little milestone on the Twitter world. I hit 5,000, and when I started talking to some of my friends about, hitting this milestone, I kept downplaying it, going, I know it's not that big a deal and everything. It's just a number and stuff, but I'm kind of excited by it.
Yeah.
And it's like, in all retrospect, all I need to say is this excites me. I'm excited.
Right.
Period. It doesn't need a disclaimer. I don't need to, put it down or put my feelings down or anything. Just own it and say I'm excited. And everybody was excited for me. Nobody was, downplaying it or, saying any negative things or anything like that. They're all super supportive and honestly helped me get to my goal, which was, getting to that 5,000 mark, making lovely tweet posts about me and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there was absolutely no reason why I needed to downplay it.
Right.
But yet I still felt that I can't own my feelings. I had to discredit them somehow.
I think a lot of it is that idea of feeling like you have permission to be proud of yourself.
Yes.
It really, and I get that, and not so much in myself, but I see it more in others,
Mm-hmm.
and it really is it's a lifetime of having to switch patterns in our brains, which have been developed, where we put other people before us. It just makes sense that you will seek permission,
Mm-hmm.
even for yourself, to have these, like, is this okay?
Yeah.
Even though you absolutely 100%, no matter what, should be able to feel pride in yourself for yourself. Like you said, you should be able to own it.
Yeah.
Just outright. But it's not that easy. It's
not.
really
No,
not.
it's
A lot of times, this is a lifetime of conditioning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially if we have stuff that goes back to parents or some other sort of familial, whether it's a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or whatever. Like then that stuff goes way back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, so setting boundaries and identifying and owning our feelings. The next one is number 2, leave the system. Sometimes our deepest desires are buried under layers of fear, particularly the fear of seeming selfish or the fear of disappointing others. One way to dig beneath the fear is to mentally remove ourselves from the systems of which we're a part. Begin by considering one of your social systems, your romantic relationship, your workplace, your church, your family. Then ask yourself, what would I do differently if I weren't part of this system? Previously unacknowledged desires emerge when you extract yourself from the pressures and influences of your system. Years ago, when I first did this exercise, I wrote in my journal, what would I do differently if I weren't in a relationship with my partner? I was amazed as my hand flew across the page, scribbling. Sign up for dance class, go out with friends more, sleep in on Sundays. My answers helped me to realize that I was suffocating my own desires out of fear of my partner's reactions. What I really wanted was right there on the page. Having a list enabled me to consider how I might carve out more space for my own desires within my relationship.
That's a great suggestion. That's a great writing activity.
Yeah.
If there is something that you're working on and you have an overwhelming urge or this it's just like a subconscious need to run this past somebody, to do a writing, to sit down and say, okay, what if I didn't have to? What would I decide for myself?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a powerful activity.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it is. Something I want to point out really quick too is the feeling of not wanting to be selfish or whatever is something, like, another reason to look for that is that's how people pleasers get exploited by people too. And don't get me wrong, it's a two-way street, but if someone knows that somebody's a people pleaser, the easiest way to manipulate them is to basically tell them they're being selfish.
Yep.
Because then they will go over the top to correct.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, one thing that I like to tell people and like to tell myself is taking advantage of someone and letting someone take advantage of you are two very different things. So one is when the person is unaware and you're taking advantage of someone, they're unaware of the situation and they just fall for it. The second is they recognize the fact that they're being taken advantage of and they don't care. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I've called people out on that. I'm like, did you really not know? Or did you just really didn't care?
Yeah.
Did you let them take advantage of you because you didn't speak up for yourself and you didn't say that you didn't want to do something? You just kind of let them
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think
It's not so much about not caring. It's also just a matter of like not wanting to fight or avoiding conflict or those things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was going to say, basically.
Fear again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it also, it feeds into the person getting what they want from the scenario. If they're a people pleaser and the other person is, manipulating them or whatever, or just taking what the defense gives you, if you will, to use a football analogy, like if they see that you're constantly give, at some point, like you said, there's a two-way street there, because there's a situation where that person could go, this person is giving me way more than they should be giving me. Like, I could say no here,
Mm-mm.
So, yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention was this, like, being a people pleaser type of thing, or like that you were just reading, Jen, about how how a person may be smothering their own wants and desires because they're afraid it'll disrupt or upset their partner or whatever it is, someone at work, blah blah. When you're doing that, unless you know for a fact that it will do those things, it's distorted thinking, because you're projecting onto other people at that point, or you're mind reading, or however you want to word that.
Yep.
So, and really the biggest thing is just, being true to yourself anyway. It's like, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with compromising with people, but completely shutting down your side of things to give someone else what they want is a whole different ballgame.
But and this is where that it's one thing to have this conversation when you are in the context of let's just say a functioning relationship. I almost use that word, that N word, which we've learned. And if you want to go back a couple episodes, there's no such thing as the N word.
Really quick, I want to use it because I want to make sure people understand that we
are the right one. Yeah.
We mean normal. That's the word we're meaning. Yeah, we're not not trying to.
Not that other one.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify.
It's the crazy life N word.
Yeah.
Yes.
Normal is a no. Yeah.
But I do want to make the statement is if you're in an abusive relationship, these 5 tips aren't going to help you.
Yeah.
If you completely, give in because it's just easier this way, you're probably in an abusive relationship and need to see a professional. I just want to say that these are great tips for people that already have a certain amount of they're in a position where they can actually have their own self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because a lot of people can't, and the reason that they give in or they turn over or whatever it is, it's because it's just easier that way because the consequences are too harsh.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
good point.
Very good point. Well, number 3, make a wish. The first time I saw a life coach, she began our session with the simplest of questions. If you were granted 3 wishes, what would you wish for? At first, I thought her question was contrived, but when I answered, 2 of my responses were illuminating. 1, I wished for a healthier relationship with my family, and 2, I wished to become fully self-employed in the career of my dreams. Then she looked me in the eye and said, "You want these 2 things very much?" I nodded. "More than anything else in the world?" I nodded again. She grinned. "Then what have you been waiting for?" I was speechless. I'd never given myself permission to suspend reality, if only for a moment, to dream big. Making a wish allowed me to dive into my dreams without stopping myself with what ifs and hows, and I could never do that. Once I spoke my desires out loud, I could no longer ignore the truth. I began to strategize on how to get there. Practice suspending reality to discover what you crave. Imagine that you could make a wish that would be instantly granted, or imagine that you could walk through a door and your ideal life waited on the other side. What did you notice about these dreams? What desires do they demonstrate?
I think we talked about this a little bit once before in as a writing exercise. But it was slightly different, but it was it was along the lines of like basically if money were no object, like if money was basically the same, like if every job paid the same, what would you do? You know, like that kind of a thing. And that was to help people when they feel like they don't have a choice in their employment situation. You know, to kind of help them see, it's like, well, if this is what you really want to do, like, okay, well, what steps can you make toward that? You know, type of a thing. And I think these exercises are good for that too. And that, like you said, if you go, okay, what are your 3 wishes? And people write it down, be like, okay, well, you know, don't get me wrong. Some people's wishes might be too lofty to really, you know, do much on. But like I was saying, you know, my therapist talked about it really, this is a way of dealing with a fear. And if you're dealing with a fear, you know, the way I was told, and I've read other people doing the same thing, which is to break it down to the smallest step you can break it down to. Do that step. Okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? You know, and you just keep going. Eventually, you'll even if you never reach where you're trying to go, at least you're moving that way. You know, versus standing in one spot going, you know, well, I wish I could this or that, you know, and it's like, well, you know, a lot of times you'll see online these motivational people and stuff that they'll be like, well, why can't you? You know, like, what, you know, like you're the only one stopping you most of the time. So like, what's going on?
I like that they used family as an example, because that really is a place where it's very difficult for people to finally assert themselves, or especially when a family member's a bully, and I mean just a legitimate blowhard bully, somebody who just uses, you know, I'm not talking about someone that threatens physical violence. I'm talking about someone that uses their mouth to, you know, to intimidate other people. And sometimes all it takes is a voice, you know, and if you asked, what's the wish? The wish would be to finally just have the voice to say what I want to say to this person. And I think it's a great example, because many times in those situations, all it takes is finally someone to speak up. And if it's not you, this is not that you're going to change them. You're going to change you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In fairness, you may change them though. Because there are a lot of people who don't realize what they're doing. Now, there's plenty that do, you know, whatever. But I remember years ago, you know, my mom and my grandma didn't see eye to eye, and my mom pointed out to my grandma kind of things she was doing, the way she was treating her, and my grandma was just dumbfounded because she didn't see herself doing that at all. Yeah. And she was, like, I saw it too, you know, and when I confirmed it, like when I was like, yeah, you do, she immediately was like, I am so sorry, kind of immediately pulled back on it and was like, I did not mean to do that, you know. So most of the time, like, you don't do it for that reason, but you might be surprised when sometimes it does make that difference, you know. Or sometimes people are just bossy and whatever because you just aren't. Like, you just don't, you know, again, we go back to the food thing. If a person knows you never pick where to eat, and then they just start going, hey, we're going here to eat, you know, like that, like you said, if you give a voice to that and go, you know what, I'd rather go blah, or I don't really feel like that, they'll probably generally go, oh, like you don't normally have an opinion on this, you know, or something. So, you know what I mean? Like you could kind of change both of your behaviors at the same time sometimes.
Absolutely. Well, and there's, you know, a friend of mine, I jokingly call him the a cloud dancer, because he likes to visualize things and imagine, do the what ifs and that type of thing. And I love it because, you know, when I talk with him, he takes me to those levels with him. And
cool.
Yeah, and it's really cool because it opens up my mind and kind of frees the possibilities of, you know, what if, and taking those chances and going, you know, to different places. So I think it's cool to definitely, you know, broaden the people you hang with as well, you know, your influences, whether it's a life coach like she used, or just friends or talking to different people, you don't know where that inspiration to kind of come about yourself, to learn about yourself, may come from. So.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next one is weave a web of impact. One of people pleasers' greatest challenges is the fear of being perceived as selfish or uncaring. You nailed it, Brian.
Yep.
I know this is true for me. Many of us believe that our worth comes from meeting others' needs. Sometimes we forget that speaking our truth positively impacts other people. Take a moment to ask yourself the question, if I spoke my truth and set firm boundaries, who else would benefit and how? Consider your partner, your friends, your colleagues, your children, passerbys on the street. Consider who you might serve as a role model, who might benefit from witnessing your strength and independence. You will quickly realize that speaking your truth has far-reaching benefits. Keep your list visible to remind yourself of the web of impact your new habits will have.
The whole speaking your truth thing is one of those phrases that I just couldn't stand it until I understood what it meant. And I went, oh, okay,
Same
yeah,
here.
it actually applies perfectly. Sometimes there's no better description than that phrase.
Well, was it last week on here when I made the comment or was it just when we were talking, Heno? Remember when I said, a friend of mine's dad that one time was just like, be who you are. And it just always sounded like the dumbest thing. But as I get older, it just rings truer and truer. It's like, yeah, just be you. Don't put on airs. Just be who you are. The people who accept you are the ones you want in your life. The ones who don't are the ones you probably don't want in your life. It makes it is. I know it sounds so simplistic, but it really, that is the truth.
But to people that are the first to put themselves down, the first not to stand up for themselves, the first to place other people over them, the idea of feeling comfortable with your feelings as truth, as an irrefutable truth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the hardest things in the world.
Also, a lot of times those feelings you have that would become your truth are seen by the person in this scenario as distorted thinking. Because they'll go, this is something, like, even if it's something you want, you will start going, no, that doesn't make sense because my distorted thinking tells me this is logic. So you kind of shift your own. What's fun? It's like you ignore the truth to believe your distorted thinking that actually distorted your thinking. It's
thinking.
Yeah, it's a mess, but yeah, it's.
Thanks when you can't trust your brain.
It is, exactly. And like I said, that's where therapy really helped me, or a life coach, wherever it ends up working for you. Was when different times I'm like, well, yeah, but this, and my therapist is like, yeah, but no, how about this? And oh yeah, that actually does make more sense. So.
Yeah, one of the simplest corrections that I've found, and it doesn't always work, but it's a great test, is when I finally came to terms with the idea of if I feel a certain way, nobody can deny I feel that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We can talk about whether maybe if my feelings are justified, and if I perceive the situation, but my feelings are my feelings.
Yeah.
And if anyone ever says that you're wrong, they're the one that's wrong.
Yeah.
They cannot possibly say that you don't feel the way you feel.
Right.
Or that you shouldn't. Or
right.
It's the one place where it was one of the greatest lessons I ever learned. And then the hard part was standing up for it. It was the first time that someone tried to dismiss my feelings or to deny them, was to say, no, you do not get to tell me how I feel.
Yeah.
You can talk about how you feel, but not me.
Right.
And it was at least a little place where I could finally stand up for myself.
Yeah.
And get a little bit of, that positive feedback of yes, it is I am worth it. I am worth sticking up for myself. And my feelings are real.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what.
Regardless of where they came from.
Right. That's what. I excuse me. I shifted the way that I looked at things when I was in therapy. Like when I would talk to her about reactions, how I reacted to something. I didn't I switched it eventually from it's not is this right or wrong, but I would start asking her more like, is this an appropriate reaction? Meaning, is it within the realms of reason type of thing? Or am I, going too far? Is my brain,
is it reasonable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, once I started doing that, I was like, okay, this seems like a much fairer way of measuring the situation, because saying, is this right or wrong? Well, like you just said, well, if you feel X, you feel X, like, you can't not, that's your truth. And, that's a problem we run into a lot is my truth may not be Henno's truth, is that I feel this way, he feels a different way. So both of us are telling each other how we're wrong. And really neither of us is wrong,
Well, the thing to keep in mind is, feelings are feelings are feelings, everybody owns their own feelings. It's what, it's their truth, as we've mentioned.
Yeah.
But your actions to said feelings are what can come in question.
Yep.
Because, that's where all of the stuff takes place, is in your reactions to those feelings. And whether it's appropriate reaction or not, that's subjective, very subjective. And it may be completely appropriate, it may not be. But that's where you need to focus the work on understanding why I reacted the way I reacted to said feelings. I like to think of feelings as nouns. They just, boom, they're there, they're solid, they exist. Now what? They don't do anything. They just are. Our reactions, those are the action verbs, those are the verbs, those are the action items that move the whole thing forward.
Yep.
Now, the last piece is number 5, start small. If you've been in a habit of people-pleasing for a long time, it may be challenging to immediately identify your own big dreams. You may feel that you truly don't know what you want right now, and that's totally normal. Living your truth and communicating authentically are muscles. When you exercise them regularly, they become stronger over time. Give yourself permission to start small. For example, you may not know yet what you want out of your career, but you do know you love strolling around the lake in the morning and winding down your nights with chamomile tea. You may not know yet which city you want to relocate to, but you do know that you'd like to take a mid-afternoon power nap and buy thermal socks. If these wants are sacred whispers from your innermost self, give your innermost self time to surface. By pursuing these small desires, you learn to trust yourself. You begin to realize that you are fully capable of being your own advocate and building the life you want. Pay special attention to how it feels to meet your needs. Be patient. With the passage of time, bigger dreams make themselves known in your heart. Authentic communication is a two-way street. We must speak truthfully to ourselves before we can speak truthfully to others. Once we become familiar with what we really want, we can imagine a world where we replace old habits like people-pleasing with new visions for brighter futures. There we go, folks.
Good advice.
Yep.
Yes. I like this woman. Her name's Haley McGee. She's a certified codependency recovery.
Cool.
Yep. She helps women find freedom by setting clear boundaries and speaking their truth in relationships.
Yeah, I was going to mention the do the the reading rainbow thing, which is if you want to read more about this topic.
Reading rainbow. All right, Tiny Buddha is where the article came from.
Yeah.
It's how recovering people pleasers can discover what they really want.
What I was gonna get at was, this definitely is a slice out of the codependency pie. If this stuff really rings to you, you might pick up the book that Henno has recommended on here like 17 times. Which is what? Codependent No More? Is that it?
Codependent No More.
Okay.
That's it.
Yep. So
nice.
Yeah, definitely. Have a look at that probably, and really, if this is something that you want to work on, I I can't stress enough that therapy may be really helpful for you in this scenario, or a group, or, something along those lines, because this is a distortion of your thinking. You might need someone who's outside of the fog to guide you a little bit. Maybe not forever, but just kind of get you on the right path, and then you can kind of start seeing what's going on. But, maybe, reading the book and different stuff can help you on that stuff too, for sure. So, yeah.
Very cool. Well, guys, what do you think? We good?
It's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. You know what time it is, folks. You know what to do. You want to reach out to us? You want to continue the conversation? We'd love to hear from you. You can reach us at the Crazy Life Podcast at outlook.com is our website, or our email. Our website is the Crazy Life Podcast.weebly.com. And you can reach me on Twitter at WitskyDits or Jen's Crazy Life. Either one, you can reach me. And
that's Jen with a G.
Yes, it's Jen with a G. Thank you.
What about your other podcast?
Oh, my other podcast. Yes, folks, you want to hear some more from me? You can join me on Shake the Sheets at shakethesheets.com. It's a pop culture podcast. And Henno, how can they reach you?
Find me on Twitter at Ida Henno. You can find me on Facebook, Henno Heiter, and also on Facebook Messenger. You can find me on Instagram at Just Slimo. And I'm excited to announce that we have our old Moving the Needle podcast is starting to roll forward, and we'll be back again with movie reviews and song shaming and guilty pleasures and all the great things that made that podcast awesome. So we had our preliminary meeting last week, and it's very exciting.
Awesome. I'm so excited for that. I missed that show.
So cool.
Huzzah!
Yeah.
Excellent. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. You can find the Twitter for this show at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. But you probably don't need that because you're already subscribed, right?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Sweet. Yeah. No, I just threw myself completely off. Our Facebook group is a Facebook. Yeah, Facebook. I'll stay with it. Facebook.com/group/Crazy Life Podcast. We are part of the Danger Entertainment Network, which can be found at dangerentertainment.net. And we're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. If you haven't already, please rate, review, subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. And we'd also appreciate it if you would share the show with your friends, especially, if a topic is something that rings true to them or what have you. And if you'd like to suggest a topic for the show or potentially talk to us, on the show or whatever, hit us up on one of the various social media stuffs, and we'll get back to you on that. If you need help, please reach out and get help, and it doesn't have to be for, depression or anxiety or anything drastic. But if it is, please get help for that also. But even if it's for like this topic tonight of people pleasing, breaking those chains it's really amazing how much different you feel once you start breaking those chains. 'Cause you quit living for other people. So definitely, as I've said before, and I told somebody actually a couple days ago, I had somebody reach out and was talking to me about maybe going to see a doctor. And like I told them, I've said on here many times before, go get the estimate. Just go in, see what they say, and then you can decide from there. You have control on whether you want to go on a medicine or therapy or groups or whatever you want to do from there. But just go find out what's going on if you feel there's something wrong. And, reach out to your friends, especially the ones that have just gone through, something rough. But also, make sure you check on the quiet ones or the ones that always tell you that they're fine, but don't really tell you anything. And then the last thing on here is, it's funny. I talked about this a little bit on Salty Language, and I'm going to, no spoilers here, but, there's just been, and I'm going to talk about this part of it on this coming week, there's been so much hate in even like the fandom world. Like nobody's happy with this or that or that, and it's just like that YouTube comment section just seems to be, getting worse and worse. So it's like, try to put some positivity out there. Just, try being nicer to people, or just practice kindness and make sure that you include yourself in that. Like we've said on here, make sure you're keeping yourself happy as well. Don't just make others happy.
As we say on my other show, don't be a butt. And that's kind of a good statement for life. Just don't be a butt. Go out there and have a good time. Be nice. Enjoy.